You know, Hashem's Baruch asked Adam Arishon on Erev Shabbos Ayekah. So every Erev Shabbos Hashem asks us also Ayekah. So we have an opportunity to learn this one. This beautiful Sefer on page Nun Dalet. The title of the parak is Vani B'Soch HaGol, which of course is from Yechezkel HaNavi. The beginning of Sefer Yechezkel, the whole Chiddush that Yechezkel HaNavi was able to say. The Chazal are asking, how's it possible? Nevuah is not mechutzos. Nevuah is not a experience. How could it be that a Navi could have Nevuah in Eretz Yisrael? So Chazal tell us that he began in Eretz Yisrael, so the Nevuah can continue outside of Eretz Yisrael, and the Nevuah was about Eretz Yisrael and leaving. But for those of you who have learned this piece from Rav Kook, it's something that we've learned many times over the years together. And the entire Sefer is really based on this Torah from Rav Kook. That's found in the third chelik of Aros HaKodesh. On these words of the Navi, Ani B'Soch HaGola. Kach Mavur B'Svar. Sha'chet, that the chet of Adam and Chava, and the underlying chet that is the shorish of all chatoim, the shorish of all of our failures, is nituk shel ha'adam me'atzmiyusa, is that separation of a person from himself, from his true self, me'ateva ha'atzmi ha'amiti shelo, from the teva ha'atzmi ha'amiti, his true teva. Gizeru l'maise inyan ha'chet. That l'maise is what a chet is. That's what a chet is. We know that the Kadvanim, the Rishonim, explained to us that the word chet is like when you're shooting an arrow and you miss the target. Lahachti es hamatara. They even use that in modern Hebrew. Lahachti et hamatara means that there's a certain objective, a certain goal that you had, a certain target that you wanted to hit, to reach, and fisfasta. You didn't do it. So missing the target is lahachti as a matar. So the word chet means to be moving in your life towards something, but it's not the place you're supposed to be going. That's what it means to miss the target, to miss the point. So you could be living a life where you're officially signed up on the program of Yiddishkeit, you're keeping Torah mitzvahs, but you're missing the point. Of course, every mitzvah and every word of davening and learning is very, very great. But in terms of the tachlis of what you were supposed to bring to this world, your own personal shlachlecha, like the Chedush all the tzaddikim talk about the shlichus of shlachlecha. It's not just the meraglim. You have to be careful not to be meraglim to come back with chalila with a wrong report. That's what happened with the meraglim. The meraglim were great people, chashuvim, but the hechtiu as a matorah, they missed the point. They were great people. But they missed the point. That's not why they were sent. And they came back, and things were distorted, things were not. And from that's Tisha B'Av. Omru b'fiyah mashla roa beinehem. They didn't pick up on the atzmiyus of Eretz Yisrael, what Eretz Yisrael really is. They were overwhelmed by the chitzonius of Eretz Yisrael, which is scary. Still is in different ways. They were overwhelmed by the chitzonius of Eretz Yisrael. and the reason for that is because they fell into the same chait of Adam and Chava. With the exception of Yeshua and Kaleb, they fell into that same chait of what? Of nituk shel Adam etzmiyuso, teva atzmi v'amiti shelo. Gezel l'maisi nina chait sheba Adam boiged b'atzmiyuso ha'kedosha. The inyan of chait is when a person betrays the inner kedusha of who he is. So whatever happened in Ragam, there are many, many explanations. There's a Hanhaga of Leah, there's a Hanhaga of Rachel, there's a Dor HaMidbar, there's a Dor Ha'aretz, whatever the Bilbulim, the Kilkulim on their Medrega, whatever happened, the underlying yesod of the mistake was exactly this. It was a betrayal of who they really were and why they were sent, and they missed the target. And because of that, we still, hopefully we won't have a regular Tisha B'Av, but it still looks like there's Tisha B'Av in the world. To be drawn after other Ritzinus, other Cheshbonis. So the Meraglim had, whatever the problem was, they had a different Cheshbon. And other Cheshbonis. To betray and to be unfaithful to the Teva Atzmi, to your true Teva. So, if a person would be faithful to his Atzmius, learn Nishmasa Tahira to the Or of his pure Neshama, then the person would never ever sin. He would never sin. He would never ever do an Aveira. Because an Aveira, every Aveira, means that we're missing the point. It means that we're failing in the shlichus. It means that we have other cheshbonis. Elokim also Sodom Yosef, we have a big cheshbonis for him. And the other cheshbon is michutz, is outside of that need of the etzem of the neshama, which is to keep Shabbos and to put on film and to be careful with another chaveru and so on, and each person with his or her own shlichus, to be faithful to the shlichus. Unfaithfulness to Hashem comes from unfaithfulness to the self, because the self is the chelik al kamimah. Ki kfi shebiyanu le'el, as we learn, kol atzmiyus shel adam hi hayosai netaf mi'or hashchina. The atzmiyus of a Jew is that each one of us is a drop, is a netaf, is a mi'or hashchina. Each one of us is an extension, is a drop, is a piece of the or of the Shechina. Nitzais is the air, a tiny spark. Shakadushas are Hashem. Kadushas are Hashem. Mimela. Haneman is al oisa garin kadosh. Mimela, being faithful to that holy garin, that nitzos, that spark, that seed. He atzma ha'akshav l'dvar Hashem. Is itself listening to, paying attention to the Devar Hashem that's inside each and every one of us. Because the Devar Hashem is the essence of each and every one of us. And the betrayal of that Atzmius Pnimis is he Atzma Chet. That's Chet. That's what it means to be Orf. And as a result of that Chet, of that betrayal of the self, of that elokus within oneself, then all of the ma'asim follow, all of the things that are not good follow. And this is really the deeper meaning of that question that HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Adam Rishon after he sinned, Ayekah, where are you? Where are you? And every time you and I make a mistake in our lives, if we would listen carefully, we'd be able to hear Hashem saying, Ayekah, where are you? Where's the you? Where are you? Where is your atzmius? Where is your ani? Where is the I that I created? Why did you become a slave to the snake and to the thoughts and the opinions of the snake, which means those kailas that are outside of yourself, even if they're kailas that are enclosed. As you know, the snake, Esav, Amalek, the snake knows how to put on a bekasha and a beard and payas. The snake can look very, very religious. The ikkus is not you. It can come in all kinds of malbushim, and for nice people like us, usually comes in a firm way. It doesn't come like in all the comic books the coloring books for the children of Yaakov and Esav. They have Esav like with a can of beer and a tattoo, and it's Esav is nice. Esav doesn't come to people like us. We're fine people. We don't get that. We don't get that version of Esav. We get more of an edel Esav. Esav can come with white socks also. I don't mean tennis socks. I mean, can come a nice lavush, come in all kinds of nice ways. The ikkur that Esav, that the snake is selling, is something other than yourself. That's the schayr. It's the schayr of the nachash. Or to tell you that Yiddishkeit is not really for you, because the Yiddishkeit that you were sold is not the Yiddishkeit that is speaking to you. So then the snake tells you that, you see, Yiddishkeit is not for you. It doesn't come like in such a for the way it's in the coloring books. It's not the football players and the garbage collectors that are pulling Jews off the derech of Yiddishkeit. They're not the ones that are giving us a hard time. It doesn't bother me that these people do what they do. They have no hashpah. It doesn't have any hashpah of our kids. When we were growing up, everybody was worried that who knows if you're going to watch, you'll watch the baseball game, that it's going to pull you away from Kodesh Baruch Hu. These were the daigas of back 50, 60 years ago. That the biggest Yetzer Sahara, was the Yankees and the Mets. This is how every parent now whose kid is obsessed with the Yankees and Mets. Those parents are thinking, "Gosh, thank you." Oh, you could hang up. You could get him box seats, seasons tickets, just anything. Just keep him. That's okay. That's all right. When we were kids, it was mamish. The Rabbi were yelling at us all the time. That's not an Indian. Every generation, Esav and the Nachash, it's different albushim, different ways. But the ikkur is not in trust. The ikkur is how it comes in more subtle ways. But the tachlis of the Nachash, the schar of the Nachash, is always to cause a person to lose himself. And the Mimele, he loses HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Rav Kook is explaining in this famous Torah that we're going to learn now. Again, this is a chazar for many of you. This is the second, third, fourth time that you're learning this. For others, it might be the first time. But let's try to learn it like we never learned it before. That's how we should always learn everything. So that's the Navi Yechezkel. And I am b'soich hagola, not that ani bagola, ani b'soich hagola. I'm deep inside the gola. That's how the Navi Yechezkel begins. So if Cook writes, this is a Torah that we have to carry with us till 120. Ha'ani ha'pnimi ha'atzmi. When the Navi was saying v'ani b'soich hagola, the nitzchias of this Navu is speaking to a Jew, even if you're sitting mamish in the old city of Yerushalayim and you have your nose up against the Kaisel. Because the Va'ani b'soich hagola doesn't mean that it's a matter of geographical location. It's the Ani. I am deep in Golas. Ha'ani, ha'pnimi ha'atzmi, the I of who I am. Hapnimi, inner atzmi, shal hayachid of the individual Jew, and then he says, and v'shal hatzibur, and of the tzibur, of the people, of the nation. Eina miskala b'toichiyuso. It's not being miskala b'toichiyuso rak l'fi erech hakadusha v'tahara shalom. The ani the atzmi. If the ani the atzmi of the individual, or of the house, or of the community, of the shul, of the community, of the entire nation, is not being revealed for what it is itself, according to the erech, according to the value, the greatness of the kedusha and tahara shalom, of that kedusha, that tahara, the erech hagvur ha'elyon, according to the strength, the supernal exalted strength of who the I is of a Jew and who the I is of Am Yisrael. Hasfuga me ha'oira ha'tahara shel ziv ma'ala, that's saturated with the pure light of that shel ziv ma'ala, of that illumination from above. Shehi mislaheves b'kirbo, that is burning inside of the individual and burning inside of the nation. If we're not connected to that, then the ani of the individual, the I of the individual, and the ani of the nation is b'soich hagal. Is in goals. So Rav Kook says, so this is our problem. Chatanu im avoseinu. Chatanu im avoseinu. We're continuing on with the sins of our ancestors. It goes all the way back, because every one of our averos now goes back to Chet HaAdam HaRishon. It's all traced back to the Chet of Adam HaRishon. Shenisnaker la'atzmiyusa, who became alien and foreign, alienated from himself. Shepana l'daito shel-nachash, he turned and he listened to the das, the opinion of the snake. And in doing so, he lost himself. To such a degree that he could not give a clear answer to the question that Hashem asked him, Ayekah, where are you? And Adam Rishon starts fumfering. I don't know what it means, stammering. Fumfering. Kinds of things. Couldn't give a clear answer to the question of Hashem, where are you? What happened to you? He couldn't give a clear answer because he was out of touch with himself. He no longer knew himself. He lost contact with himself. Because the true ani, Rav Kook made up this word anius, there's nowhere such a word. Anius, the true I-ness. Nevda mimen was lost. The chet hayishtachava la'el zar, as a result of the sin of bowing down to a foreign god. Foreign here doesn't mean it has to be a statue. So of course not talking about statues. He's not talking about Baal or Pa'or or Baal Pa'or. It's an Elzar. The Yetzar, the Gemara tells us that the Yetzar is called an Elzar, foreign god. The Yetzar is foreign inside each and every one of us. This doesn't mean it has to be a statue. It's a foreign god. I got somebody sent me. It must be just so they're sending. I don't know how these things get to a person's name. How do they know to send to this one to that one? But this was sent around from a firm person, that to let me know, along with the entire Jewish people, that you can now for this summer you can get these trays that have on it. It looks like delicatessen, like pastrami, slices of salami. I don't know. That's what it looks like in the picture. Pieces of salami. Didn't look like too many pieces. And it says on it you can get one for $2.50, not $2.50. $250 up to $450 you can get. I'm sure if you want, you can make more than that. But the regular price is between $2.50 and $4.50 for it says a meat board. I think it's called. That has on it some salami and pastrami. I didn't see in the picture there's any gold or silver. It looks like it's just some cold cuts. And the words that came with this, it hurts in such a deep way. I look at it and it causes me to feel physical pain. That I'm not against people trying to make money. That's okay. I know everybody's trying to do their best, and it's not about that. Makarela. What happened to us? What happened to the modesty of? What happened to the pashtus of a Jew? What happened to us? It's so hard to. The whole inyan of what a Jew is, what it means to be tzanua in our way of eating, in our way of talking, in our way of dressing, in our way of living, just the way of. Because Jews have now some money, so a lot of young people got their hands on a lot of money all of a sudden. These things, the way money is being spent and how is it being spent. And so someone says to me, what does it bother you? They have the money, why can't they spend it? How do you even answer that? I knew Jews that had much more money than them, but you would never ever know. You wouldn't know. It's just, and you can't explain it. If someone doesn't have a chush for that, I know all the years there's no way to explain this. How do you undo that? What's missing? A certain chush of, it's such a derailment from who we are. And when you say this to people, they get so upset. What does it bother you? What does it bother you that people, if somebody wants to spend $450 for some cold cuts, what does it bother you? How do you explain that? How do you answer the question? It's not just about the $450 because he has the money. Because you have the money, therefore. So he's telling me he's got this plate of meat and he's got a bottle of schnapps for another $400. And what does it bother you? I didn't steal any money. This is all kosher money. Is va'ani b'soch hagola. You can't. How do you even talk to this heaven? And they're firm. They do, whatever. They're part of the Torah world. They talk. It's not. This is explain it. This is not what the Torah. This is not what the Torah wants. That we should eat this way, to act this way, to spend money this way, to just because you have it. And then the next thing is he gives a lot of tzedakah. That's good. They're kind people. I'm not saying he's not kind. They're good people. That's not the point. It's altogether lost. But look at the Hemshech. On the bottom of the note, he brings the continuation of the Torah. These are Rav Kook's words. There's a Hemshech l'shayna. Chota Yisrael zona achrei Elohei nechar. The Jewish people have sinned. Zona is nus. Nus means to be unfaithful, and we've gone after foreign gods. It says there's the god of pastrami and the god of bourbon. Doesn't mean it has to be something which is also. I was talking before about the nachash could be dressed. The nachash could have on it 5 different hechsher, the Hebrew words too. The nachash has all kinds of things. It's on the use of ha'atzmis ozav. The nation, the Jewish people have laws. They're aniyus ha'atzmis. Zonach Yisrael Tov. And in doing so, we have neglected all of the Tov. We have neglected and turned away from Tov. Chata ha'aretz. This goes back to the beginning of time. The sin of the earth. Now, the sin of the earth, of course, we've discussed this many, many times, and you all know that the sin of the earth, what does it mean, the sin of the earth? It means that Hashem told the earth to give an H tree, that the earth should produce a tree, and the tree should have the same taste as the fruit. And that's called Cheta Aretz. So, the sin of the earth. When the earth doesn't have Bechir, what does that mean? So it's the sin of earthly existence, is that there is this somehow this separation between the tree and the fruit and the taste of the tree. There's some sort of a lapse, space between the two. That's the sin of the earth. What does that mean? The earth rejected, it turned away, it denied its atzmiyus, itself. And because of that, the strength of the earth became so diminished, became so constricted. He talks about this. It's the same thing with what happened with the sun and the moon. The moon didn't want to be itself. The moon wanted to be the sun. How could two malachim wear one crown? It's the same thing. You're the moon. I created you as the moon. That's what your job is, to be the moon. But the moon had the miyinus of the sun, right? It's the same thing. The miyinus. And what happened to the moon? So its light was diminished till Mashiach comes. And that's what happens to us. Halcha acharei megamos v'tachlisos. The earth was fixated on megamos v'tachlisos, that just the fruit. In other words, the fruit is what's important. The fruit is the final result. The fruit is the tachlis, right? Because the fruit is, you look at the tree and you say, I don't know, the tree is not the chashuv thing. The tree was chashuv, it should have fruit. Just like the children look at themselves as my parents are only that I should be here. My parents' whole tachlis is me. The children are the parents, and the parents are my parents' existence. They don't have any internal value on their own. Parents are just to take care of their kids, to have them and to take care of them. You're just here to serve me. And then once I have what I want, I don't need you anymore. This is the chait of the earth. The only thing that's important is what? Is the payers. Lo nasna es kol chayla hakamus dios tam eitz ketam pirio. And therefore the earth did not invest her strength, her energy, all of her amazing energy into the taste of the tree. It fell for that voice of the snake, that the only thing that counts is the end, not the means towards the end. Ever since then, all people are thinking about is how I can get to something, but not the trip along the way, what that means. Nasa ayin michutzla. The earth was deceived. The earth, before Adam heard the snake, there was already that voice telling you to be something that's other than yourself. And the earth, nasa ayin michutzla, she turned her eye away from her own koiches, away from what she was supposed to do. Lachshav al dvar garolus u'karierus, meaning to think about the results and the end, what's going to come out. And the same things with the moon. Kitrug ha'yerech. This is the kitrug of the moon. This is what happened with the moon. Of the siva pnimiusa, she lost the moon, lost her own orbit, her own self, her essence. And as a result of that, simchas chelka. She wasn't happy. The moon wasn't happy with the chelik that Hashem, with her shlichus, with her shlachlecha. The moon wasn't happy with her shlichus. Simchas chelka. And the moon lost all of her joy. Because the moon was looking to see, why is the sun like this? And she lost herself. Cholma al dvar hadras melachim chitzayna. The moon had delusions and dreams of the glory of kings, some external, shallow glory of what. And that's why the moon said, how could it be that two kings should wear one crown? I should share a crown with the sun. That's all chait, all aver comes from that. And that's what Rav Kook says. The ko holech ha'olam, and so the world goes on and on. V'tzolel ba'avdan ha'ani, and drowning in this loss of the eye. Shel ba'avdan ha'ani shel kol echad. Shel ha'prat, this happens to the individual person, and shel ha'klal, and to the klal, to the olam. Now, listen to this. Rav Kook says, "Boy mechanchim mulumadim." There are all kinds of educated teachers that come. Mulumadim, bright, educated people who are now entered into the field of education. Mistaklim b'chitzonius, but they look at everything, even though they're very smart. They look at everything in a way of chitzonius. They look at everything not for what it is. Meaning they look at their students, not for who they are. Masichim deya gam heim min ha'ani. And they're distracted. The Mesiach das. They're not paying attention from the ani. They're not paying attention to the ani. And as a result of that, Mosifim teven al hamadura, they're throwing more straw into the fire. That's destroying their students. Mashkim is at smeim b'chometz. They're giving those who are thirsty vinegar to drink. They're giving them vinegar to drink. Mashkim is at smeim b'chometz. They fatten the brains and the hearts of their students with all things that are not them. That are not them. And the ani of that kid that's sitting in front of the teacher in the class is getting more and more forgotten, more and more lost. The kevin she'ein ani, and that child, that person, that student, that person is, if he doesn't have ani, kevin she'ein ani, if there's no ani, then ein hu. What does that mean? We learned this many times. Ein ani, kevin she'ein ani, ein hu. Who's that talking about? Hashem. Then the whole grammar falls apart. If I don't know who I am and I'm davening, that's not me who's davening. Then there's no him. There's no God. So what is our? There's no God. If I don't exist, or if that ani that I represent, that I'm claiming is the one who's davening, is not really me, but it's somebody that was fattened up by some other person to think the way that he thinks, the way that she thinks, but it's not me. Ain't who? Then there's no him. There's no him. Ain't who? A kal v'chomer shein ata. A kal v'chomer, how much more so? There's no you, meaning there are two ways of speaking about Hashem, to Hashem. One is about Hashem, ein hu, third person, so to speak, and then ata. So when when a person is saying the words Baruch Atah Hashem, if I'm not me, then you are not you. Kal v'chomer says she'ena ata. So what does it mean when you say the words I want to thank you? Who is I? If your I is missing, if you don't know who the I is, then whatever you're saying is ta'ata is meaningless. Because it's not coming from you. Kal v'chomer she'ena ata. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. Mashiach himself, Mashiach inside each and every one of us. Is Ruach HaPeinu, is the breath, Ruach HaPeinu of our lives. Yiddishkeit is the breath of your own life. Mashiach is Ruach HaPeinu, is Mashiach Hashem. Zel Gvurasa Hadar Godlo. And that's the guru, the greatness, the godless of Ruach HaPeinu of Mashiach Hashem. Einenu mi b'chutz lanu. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem is not outside of us. It's not. Of course, there's a person Mashiach we're waiting for, but that's not the inyan of Geula. It's not the ikar inyan. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. Einenu mi b'chutz lanu. You have to stop looking at it. Stop looking for it outside of yourself. Stop looking for your salvation, your redemption for outside of yourself. Sometimes I'm having a conversation with a person who is loyal in a very, very unfulfilling marriage. Not talking about a get, and for whatever reason, we're not talking about that there needs chalila to be a divorce. But it's not going, and it's very unfulfilling. And I talk to the person about something along these lines. Stop trying to find happiness through your wife. Try to find something inside of yourself. You were hoping that somehow that other person was going to be the source of your happiness. Kanira, it seems to be. You've been trying for 40 years. It doesn't look like it's happening. You must look inside yourself to find happiness within yourself, without losing the other person. You have to be always kind and conscious of, but you're looking for it somewhere else. You're looking for your geula. You're looking for Mashiach somewhere else, but Mashiach is Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach. The geula is Karve al Nafshi Geula. Moshe Weinberger said that on those words. Karve al Nafshi Geula. Al Nafshi Geula. That's what we makabel Shabbos. Karve al Nafshi Geula. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. It's not outside of us. Ruach HaPeinu hu. Ruach HaPeinu hu. Es Hashem Elokeinu v'David Malkeinu nevakesh. Rav Kook is paraphrasing the pasuk. But the Navi says that at the end of time we're going to be seeking Hashem and David HaMelech. What's that Indian of? And now and Chazal say that we're in Golus because Asher Karfu B'Hashem u'B'Malchus Beis David. It's Kaifer. Golus is Kfira. Golus is the rejection of Malchus Beis David, and Geula is seeking David HaMelech. As Hashem Malkeinu is David Malkeinu nevakesh. Again, the Nakuda of David Malkeinu means Mashiach Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. It means that Malchus within each and every one of us is called that Nakuda of David Malkeinu. David Malkeinu. The Nakuda of Malchus within a person himself, herself. The David Malkeinu nevakesh. El Hashem ve'el Tuvai nefachei. Hashem ve'altu v'nefached. Our fear, so to speak, our fear is to be worthy of the Torah of Hashem ourselves. Es ani shelanu nevakesh. And we have to seek. That's what it means to look for Ruach HaPeinu, David Malkeinu. Es ani shelanu nevakesh, the book says. Ani shelanu nevakesh. We have to seek the ani shelanu. Again, of the individual and of the nation, of the people, of the nation.
How do we do it for the nation?
Let's finish this. Es atzmeinu nevakesh v'nimtza. If we seek, es atzmeinu nevakesh, if we will seek ourselves, nevakesh v'nimtza, we will find. And he ends with like a scream. Haser kol Elohei necha. Remove all foreign gods. Haser kol zar umamzer. Mamzer also. Mamzer has the word zar in it, but as I'll explain. Remove all that's foreign and illegitimate. V'yadatem ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. Listen how Rav Kook explains the last word. How he explains the pasuk. And you shall know ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. That if you find the ani, of course the simple pshat pasuk is you should know that I am Hashem your God. But Rav Kook is revealing here a deeper meaning, and he's saying that you shall know that if you want to find Hashem, you will find it by looking for yourself first. Ki ani. In the ani you will find Hashem Elokeichem. Hamaitzi eschem eschem liyaslachem lelokim. I took you out of Mitzrayim to be your God, and you don't know where, you don't know where to find me. I'll tell you where to find me. Ani Hashem. The ani of who you are, that's Hashem. Ani Hashem. You don't have to go anywhere else. Ani Hashem. I took you out of that world of Mitzrayim, of all the Meitzarim. I took you out of that world of something that was so different and foreign. It was so not you. And you're free people. We're not in Soviet Russia. We're not with the Nazis. We're free people. But the Chet of Adam HaRishon continues. Ani Hashem. The Ani of a person is where you find Hashem. When you're looking for someplace else, you're not going to find. You might find somebody else's God, but that's an Elzar. That's a foreign God. It's not yours. It's somebody else's God. It's not your God. Now, all of Shulchan Aruch, all of Torah is to guide us and to bring us along and to help us uncover that ani, to get closer and closer to that ani. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, when we were speaking of the sins of the earth and sins of the moon, is that a mushal? I always thought it was a mushal for us to learn, or is it something deeper that it's built into the teva? This problem?
Well, Cook said that it is built into teva. In other words, Hashem created a world where the strongest test of all creation from the beginning is to be unfaithful to yourself, and as a result of that, to be unfaithful to Hashem. And that is symbolized by these strange issues that were there before man ever came. The problems of the earth and the problems of the moon. So is that what Rav Kook explained that it's exactly what you said. In other words, the sun, the moon, the earth, these are all parts of teva. So it means that it's the teva of the world, it's the teva of man to look for values, to look for happiness outside of his true teva, and to settle for second nature, third, fourth, fifth, but not to remain faithful to the true teva, who you are. So what happened with the earth? Again, there's a lot of Torah on these in Kisvei Ari, on the sun, the moon, and the Chet HaAretz. But we understand that essentially every sin is the same thing as taking the fruit from the tree. What happened was that the fruit was separated from the tree. So the tree doesn't have a good taste, and everybody just wants the fruit. So everybody wants to get to something, but along the way, you forget who you are, because the fruit is detached from its source, from its makar. And when Hashem created the tree, the earth was supposed to produce a tree, and the tree would have the same taste as the fruit, so that every moment of life would be filled with that awareness of who I am and my tachlis, instead of always thinking, when I get to the fruit, then it'll be good. Now, my kids, they're going to be really religious. So every sin is essentially taking the fruit away from the tree and getting lost in some make-believe world that's not you. Instead of there being the Tama Eitz, Ketama Pri, that the taste of the earth and the taste of the fruit, nothing is lost along the way. So everybody wants now everybody wants to be rich, but they don't want to have to work to become rich. That's what you see with the young people nowadays that's coming out, the chevra that are coming out. Everybody wants to be a billionaire, but they don't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning, come home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. They just want, Daddy, give me some money, buy me a building or two, whatever. They don't want to have to. They don't want to have to work towards something. They just want the fruit. They want to grab the fruit and run. Disrespect for parents means that I don't care about where I come from. I don't care about the tree. The tree doesn't have a good taste. The means to the ends are. Why does that happen? What does that mean? It means that loss of awareness of the self, of the I, of everything working along that order, that mahalach, of everything being connected, the fruit, the tree, the earth. The earth has a bitter taste. See, if people are raising children, they're not enjoying the children while they're raising them. They're just thinking about, what's going to be with the shidduch crisis of my daughter. If someone says your daughter's only 7, yeah, I know, but the shidduch crisis, Why don't you just enjoy your 7-year-old right now? Why are you grabbing the fruit? That's the sin of all. Every aveira is rooted in that. You think that you're going to find it somewhere, not in yourself. You're going to find it not in Shabbos, not in Yom Tov. You're going to drag around the whole world looking for something, and you're ultimately you're missing the ani. The whole Sefer Koheles is this nakuda. The whole Megillah Koheles is this nakuda. You don't have any other Sefer in all of Tanakh where you have the word ani, I, as much as the Sefer Koheles. It's unbelievable, especially in the beginning. But what Shalom is talking, the whole Sefer is about the havel havalim of looking for meaning outside of the ani, and propping up some phony ani, gathering wealth and thinking you're going to find your happiness. You're rich and you have kids. Your kids end up rebelling against you and blowing all the money that you made. That's the whole book is about that. It's the loss of the ani. The whole Kalas, there's no other place you have in the whole Kalas on how many times the word ani is being used. I'm sure you could do that in the chat, GPT, GTP, whatever. How many times is ani found in Sefer Kalas? In proximity and the amount of psukim, much more than any other place. Because the book of Koheles is Shalom telling us about the search for meaning. And the search for meaning is the search for the self. And Shalom is saying, Chevra, listen to me, I want to tell you something. I looked for myself in all other places. And that's not it. I tried everything. I went looking for myself in everything. The sisa b'chachma, b'sichlis, everything. That's the whole Megillah is about. And we lay in it dafka by Zman Simchas Seinu, which all this one we're talking about like this, the most depressing book in the whole Tanakh. And everybody's like in such a great mood. Sukkahs and then Kahalas. What's that about? Because they're telling us, the tzaddikim are telling us, Shalom Melech is telling us that Chevra, the reason that you're not happy is because you're looking for happiness in the wrong place. You're just worshipping foreign gods. You're running after this snake. So you think if you're going to make that deal, then you're going to be happy. Shalom Melech says, I'm telling you, Chevra, I did all of this. It's not it. Ani Koheles, Yisi Melech. He doesn't even say his name. It's a mystery how the name is not said. Ayekah Shiur, those who want to say that it's not Shalom Melech. Where, who, what? Because Ayekah Shiur, he was talking about the loss of his own identity and the struggle to find his identity, himself. And now, where did all of this take us in Tafshin Pei Gimel 2023? The whole Inyan before Mashiach comes is on the most basic level of identity of who you are is not even clear anymore. It doesn't. The one thing, like we spoke of this many times, the one thing that a person needs to know, even the person who had the lowest IQ knew that I'm a Zocher and she's in a cave. There's one thing that you could be sure of. I don't know about the stock market. I don't know if there's a God. I don't know anything, but I know that I'm a Zocher. So now the world says, Lav Davka. Lav Davka. There are people who are much better than you that are honest with themselves. And they know that that's not really what you are. The one thing that a person was sure of, in other words, that the one seif of ani that you knew, because everything else you're clueless. But even the weakest seichel in the world knew that I'm a Zocher and she's in a cave. That was the easiest. Everybody got that right on the Regents, yeah? It used to be, that was the one question you could answer in the doctor's office if it said male or female. So, even the guy that never passed the test in his life, he was so excited because he could fill the little circle where it says, I'm a Zocher. And he said, I got this right. I never passed a test in my life. I'm not my road test, not biology, not physics, but I filled in where it says male. And then you give it into the girl at the counter. She says, you might have gotten this wrong. I got this wrong? I'm not. You know, not only that, but I'm very insulted that you're so certain about that. I find that very offensive, and I might sue you. I'm thinking about suing you because you're hurting me. You're offending me. I mean, this is Ayekah Shiur. I mean, Rav Kook's talking about the Indian of forgetting oneself, like in a deeper, existential forgetfulness, but biological, physiological shikha. It's only a simon. Of course, we're laughing, but we know deep inside it's the saddest thing. And there's such nebuch that's broken in the people. And I could be put behind bars for saying that, because they'll say I'm the happiest person in the world, even though the studies are showing that they're killing themselves all over the place, this chevra. Because ani b'soich hagoyla. Even the biological reality is b'soich hagoyla. So these birurim that are taking place in Eretz Yisrael, so you're saying, how could that be with the people, with the nation? You see the birurim that are taking place was never so clear. The same thing that's happening in the world, that there are human beings that aren't sure of who they are. So now we have such an Indian that there are Jews that are screaming and carrying on and yelling and threatening to kill. There was an editorial that was written, I read the other day, from a very choshev woman, a very choshev writer, Carolyn Glick. I don't know if you ever. She's a very choshev writer. She's worked for years with the Jerusalem Post, very, very choshev person. I think she's Shomer Mitzvahs, I'm not sure. But she's a very choshev writer. What's going on in Eretz Yisrael? it's crazy. The Jews that are talking about murdering other Jews because of their political views, and with these lashonos of scary lashonos, they're talking in such a way, and what they're screaming about is they're afraid that Eretz Yisrael is going to be more Jewish. That's what they're afraid of. It's not about judicial reform, Kedu. They're not getting 100,000 people out about judicial reform. These are the same people that were in favor of judicial reform 3 years ago. They're screaming about. They're afraid of what's going to be of Yiddishkeit. What's going to the Eretz Yisrael is being taken over by the fruit. That's what they're afraid of. So that's a tremendous biur. In other words, Ayekah Shiur, there's this shikha of the ani of Am Yisrael. But that screaming and yelling only means that there's a biur that's taking place. The same way that the screaming with the Zecharim and the Kavis is because there's going to be a biur of Mashiach's coming, and then it'll be clear who you are. So before that dawn of Mashiach, there's such a loss of clarity. There's such a hest upon him before Mashiach comes, at that darkest moment before the sun rises, that a Zacha doesn't know if he's a Zacha in the cave, and a Jew doesn't know that he's a Jew. So when you see these things, these studies, and all this, the assimilation and no shaykhs, the Yiddishkeit, there be ruin that are taking place. We shouldn't chalila be discouraged. It's sad. It's heartbreaking to see these things. But the biur is happening. These Jews are screaming when they're yelling and they're protesting, and you see their faces that they're so angry and they're carrying like effigies of Netanyahu or whatever. What they're screaming, what they're really screaming is, I want Mashiach now. That's what they really scream. I want to know, who am I? Because every one of those people that are protesting, and you go to their houses, they have pictures of their Zaydis and Barbies, and this one's got a turban and a beard down to the floor, and the other one's got a biba hit to a shtama like this, and they're screaming there, and they're yelling and they're screaming there, and you walk into their house and they got pictures of their grandparents on the wall. And they would say, I'm not talking about my grandmother was Gavaldi. My grandmother was Gavaldi. You know, I hate dairy, but my grandmother, she was Gavaldi. I hate all religious Jews. These are the things that are going on. That doesn't mean, what they're saying is, I want desperately to be a Jew, I just don't know how. And I can't identify, everything I heard about it doesn't speak to me. The talks that I heard, they're not speaking to me. That's where our fault comes in. Because if we would speak to our brothers and sisters the right way, they would feel themselves in our talking to them. But they're not. So we fatten them up with all kinds of talks about Yiddishkeit, but we're not talking to them. So they don't see themselves in our talks. It's our fault. We're not talking to them their language. There are some that are doing that. You have these Hidabrut, the other Gevaldige Chever that are trying all different things to talk to them. They just see us as a bunch of shylocks, shysters, that are trying to take away their money and that are sending off their kids to die at war. And we're just a bunch of freeloaders that don't want to work. That's how they see us. They don't hear themselves in our lives, in our talking to them, in our being with them, in our sharing with them. They don't hear it. But they want that. Everyone that's screaming and yelling Keneged, he's not Keneged. They're not Keneged. They're Ba'ad. They're angry because they can't find themselves in Yiddishkeit, and they're fighting against it, like people who are being threatened. Why does it bother you so much? It bothers them. It bothers them. The Yiddishkeit bothers them. They're not sleeping. The Yiddishkeit's bothering them. They don't know what to do. They can't. It bothers them when they see a frum person. They can't take it. What did this nice person do? What did he do to you that you're upset with him? This guy bothers you. He's a frum guy. Bothers you. He's taking away my shah. His kids he doesn't go to fight. They're acting crazy because you see it's not normal. This is a strange thing that's happening. There's a historius of R that's causing the choshech to be so threatened that the choshech is fighting for its life. And our job is to try to talk to our people. And Moshe Weinberger couldn't talk. But they understood the language of our kind. And that's our job. But in order to take somebody out, you have to be out yourself. You can't get yourself out of jail. First, you get out of jail yourself. How can you take the other chaver out of jail if you're in jail yourself? You can't take other chaver out of jail if you're in jail yourself. You're locked up behind bars of foreign gods, and you talk to other people about them being from. You are bowing down to foreign god yourself your whole life. Why? Because you're from. And you're going to take somebody else out from jail. You're in jail yourself. Could be that person's more in touch with himself than you are. And you're coming to rescue him? Who are you? You're a lifeguard. You're drowning yourself. We have to ourselves to get out of jail and to take others out with us, Mr. Hashem. Oh, we should be zeicher not just to talk, we should be zeicher to do good things.